Good evening. My name is Mike Haynie, and you're watching another episode of 60 Minutes in Black America. And I'm here to tell you nepotism's alive. Whenever you have an opportunity to have conversation with family and particular family and family, it's a great thing. Hey, we've got a great conversation for you today, some updates around the world, in addition to talking to family. Again, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Again, my name is Mike Haynie, and welcome to 60 Minutes in Black America. And real excited today because I have another family member. Last week we had a niece, Shania Johnson, graduate. The week before last, my mother and my aunt. So nepotism is alive, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. And we talk about 60 Minutes being a format that goes around this country, talking with communities to compare similarities to what we have, but we don't always have to have a mayor, although it was great, of Selma, or the bishop of the country, or the governor of Maryland to get our information, because many times, much of what we have is right in our backyards. Jamie, thanks for sending that great energy, man. It has been an energetic day all day long. Michelle, greetings. Thank you so much. And distinguished guests. And we have one today. We have one that I decided later on in this week to have, and that is my nephew. As soon as we figure out how to get him in, and as soon as the production team tells me he's ready, we're going to bring him on because we've had a bit of technical difficulties. But as I said, having family and friends that influence us in our lives is a great thing. And one of the things I discovered today, and today has been an absolutely awesome day, and we'll talk about that a bit later. Had an opportunity to go to two church services, which I usually try to do on Sundays anyway, to get, my spiritual needs, and we'll talk about that. But we have an opportunity to bring people in that are close to us into our conversations, that are influences in our lives. The closer, the better. And I got to tell you, I have a nephew who graduated Thursday from the University of Maryland. Maybe it was Wednesday or Thursday of this week, graduated from the University of Maryland Smith School of Business with his MBA. But beyond that, he's doing some absolutely awesome things that I am certain, if you listen very closely, you will learn a considerable amount from this 28-year-old, soon to be 29-year-old, as I have been watching him over the course of his life, but moreover, studying him very, very recently. So we're going to bring him in very soon because I don't want him to go away, no more technical glitches, but I do want to share first a quick video that was pretty compelling to me, and I'm sure it'll be to you as well. So let's share this.
More with my MBA program, like for instance, 2 weeks I'm going to Africa for my program for to consult for a small business. So like there's things like that I wouldn't have been exposed to had I not done the MBA program. Yeah. So I am grateful for that experience, and I feel like that's one of the opening my mind to me is more impactful than any 3 letters. If the 3 letters is going to open my mind, like, okay, I can make $1 million with this.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful. If the 3 letters, and I got to make sure those 3 letters are MBA or KWH, got to make sure what those 3 letters are. But let's go ahead and bring Keith William Haynie Jr., entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, I call him, as well as a recent graduate of the Smith School of Business from the University of Maryland. Keith, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, Uncle Mike? How you doing? You're trying to age me a bit.
Great.
I'm 27.
You're 27. Well, that's right. So you'll be 28, what, in July?
Yeah, in July.
Okay, well, I hear you, man. Well, it's people my age that are in their 30s, right? People my age that are in their 30s that don't like to be aged. So you 27-year-olds, man, well, I guess once you get over that age of being able to, have a glass of Chardonnay, it's all good, But I really appreciate you being here today. It was important for me to get you on this show. You're the only guest that we had planned, and I know that you're traveling, right? Aren't you traveling in the next few hours or so?
Yeah, so tomorrow I'll be flying out to Iceland for a few days, and then I'll be in
Iceland.
London. Yep, yep.
Iceland and London, and we're going to talk about your travels, but let's initially talk about a ceremony I attended on what was it? Wednesday you graduated?
Wednesday, Wednesday. Yep.
Wednesday you graduated at university and you got your MBA, and we saw that short clip as you talked about being exposed as a result of being in a MBA program, getting your graduate degree. Were the three initials you were talking about the MBA?
Um, I mean, in a sense, they were. I guess the NBA kind of put me in the environment to kind of change my perspective, just enhance like my thought process, and just being able to connect with people that are like-minded as me. But of course, my initials are important to me as well. I've always been pretty driven and a pretty persevering person. So any combination of those three is a combination for success, in my opinion.
Hey, absolutely, man. And you're absolutely right. And I see so proud of you, Keith. We usually don't read comments in the chats on this show. So proud you, Keith. Keep moving forward. And you talked about perseverance and you talked about doing that short 26-second clip that you were able to do certain things and expose certain things. And I know during the course of that program, you visited South Africa, didn't you, to help a business?
Yeah, so part of the program was global study abroad. So I precluded the South Africa trip with the 8-day trip to Europe. I was in Turkey and Istanbul, Barcelona for a couple of days, Paris and Athens before we started off in Johannesburg for about 3 or 4 days, and then we were in Cape Town where we were tasked to consult with a small business. So in our case, we were working with a solar energy installation company, which was like a small family-run business, and they were basically trying to expand their market share in South Africa, which is also one of the best places in the world for renewable energy potential. They haven't really tapped into it yet, but they have like naturally some of the best resources to propel their renewable energy sector. So one of our goals was trying to expand their business, kind of trying to mature it from where it was at the moment, get them some marketing strategies, kind of clean up their financial records, clean up their promotion, their website, just the way they were reaching out to customers and retaining them. So that was part of the trip, and of course we got to see the beautiful places within South Africa and Cape Town, especially. So it was a good trip.
Well, you've done a lot of world travel. I think you've been to Greece, you've been to Dubai. And what we really want to do, because we know we're working with you on a limited time, but hey, man, I could use you for 2 hours in terms of things that you're doing at 27 years old. You've traveled the world, you've been a bunch of different places, but I really want to get to those two businesses, man, that you have screwed. And I never saw the word spelt that way and sold out dates. You have two businesses. So, Masters of Business Administration is how you describe or how that degree is described, correct?
Yep, yep. Master's of Business Administration.
And you had associated, well, hey, man, I know I can make $2 million as a result of getting three initials behind my name. What do you mean by that? And it seems as though you're on the way when I started to research these businesses, man, and the unbelievable followers you have as you market. And we'll talk about the marketing aspect of your businesses. But what do you mean that you can do $2 million as a result of these three initials? Was the education that important to you?
I feel like it was more so the environment. There aren't really many opportunities where you're in a class with about 50 other people who want the same thing. It might not be the exact same thing, but they want to expand their knowledge. They want to expand their thought processes. They want to grow and move up in their career. They want to start businesses, and then you have a school that's kind of like incubating this environment. At the Smith School, where they have a lot of entrepreneurs that's come out of the school, have a large alumni base. They have professors that are in the fields that I may or may not be interested in, but you can always take and learn just the thought process, just kind of like the planning, what goes into scaling yourself, scaling your business, things that you might not have learned just looking it up on your own without having to go through all the trial and error. So that's one of the most valuable things I think that I've gotten from the past 2 years in business school. Is just the more of the perspective, the tools, the environment. Because I mean, after college, you aren't really around that many people that are purposely trying to expand their career, boost their life, and do those type of things in business. So it's definitely been key into growing sold out dates, which is our latest venture. But it's definitely been a big tool.
And we're going to get to sold out dates, man, and show some things because when I looked at your TikTok and in one, I think you went somewhere, 348,000 viewers. And then when you went to Dubai and you described Dubai to people, you have figured out the marketing aspect. And I heard you talk about algorithms, et cetera, but we'll get to that in a bit. You talked about perseverance, right? Just like Shania Johnson, who was on last week, graduated with her undergrad in business administration from Longwood. She lost her mom just last year. You've lost your mom, right? And an earlier age. And, what does perseverance mean? And how was that a motivator? And what has kept you focused as a 27-year-old on the prize, whatever the prize is to you? What's kept you focused? And how did that affect you?
I feel like our family in particular was very key in making sure that I did see the light in situations and not to get down and unfocused. People like Ron Sharon who took me to all these places like museums and to different parks and just taught me a lot of things and corrected me grammatically and things of that nature. And Grandma who made sure I was always keep my manners up and being very nice and kind to people. And you, Uncle Mike, taking us to Michigan and to up to Hershey Park and to all these places just showed me that there was potential, even if my life wasn't going the way it would be scripted for someone else. I always knew I was smart and I had a nice family that loved and supported me to continue. I knew it wasn't ever the end of the road for me. And I just wanted to continue to make my family proud, make myself proud, and then be able to inspire the next person.
Wow, that's fantastic, man. In spite of that, you've maintained a lot of humility where some people become bitter at, God, bitter at the world because of things and life's breaks. I recall you had a tie drive, right? You collected hundreds and hundreds of ties, and unfortunately, we couldn't pull up. It wasn't words, it was just awe-inspiring to see these boxes of ties that you dumped on the desk. Tell us about that aspect of giving back for you and that tie drive that you went through. I think it was your junior or sophomore year in,
Yeah.
in college.
Yeah, it was my junior year in college, which was kind of a rough time for me. But I realized my Aunt Aisha, she had gotten me an internship out in Houston, Texas. And I didn't really realize the importance of like internships. It was after I filled out of engineering school. Well, I wouldn't say filled out, but I didn't pass the classes in the time needed. So I had to switch my major. I was kind of nervous to tell Aunt Sharon and my family. But Aisha got me an internship at the Finance and Operations Division out in Houston, Texas for Harris County. But I realized I didn't really have any ties and I wasn't really like prepared for that environment. So I know where I came from in Kinston and I knew we were pretty similar. And for most people, I would be like one of the smarter and more prepared ones. So I wanted to make sure that every senior in Lenore County and Jones County and Goldsboro County had ties when they graduated. So I collected about 1,800 ties, and every single male senior in Lenore County, Jones County, some middle schools, Goldsboro High School, they all got ties as like a graduation gift. Some of them reach out to me to this day that they're just now starting their careers now. That was about what 7 years ago now, so they're kind of getting into their careers and they reached out to me and thanked me. They've been following along with me as well throughout my journey. So it was just something I could do to give back to my community because where I grew up is a very special place to me.
Absolutely, man. Hey, listen, this picture, right? And before we address this picture in that suit, that mean suit, because I know that suit, man. That suit was the bomb, man. I want that suit so bad. What's the significance of a tie to you
Um,
that you felt it relative to ensure that these young
I
people have one?
I feel like that's the closing piece of your attire, especially in like a business environment. You going in there without a tie on, and you're kind of already like uncomfortable because it's an environment that's um, not really home to people that are coming from like urban environments. It's not really natural. So you go out there with a tie, you're looking good, you're feeling good, and you're going in there, you're performing well. So I feel like it's like kind of the closing piece. Ties make people look a little bit more serious. I remember watching you wear ties and stuff going to work at the hotels. You got one on now. It just makes you feel a little bit more. It's like you have a little bit more confidence and a little bit more appeal behind yourself. So I feel like that's a key piece that I could help with.
Wow, that's powerful, man. We need to have a show on the reality of a tie and an appearance versus what you have is the education, fortitude, and as you said, perseverance to get things done that you wanted to get done in life. Because somehow, because I think under between that board, that BO and that RN, isn't there a cross?
Yeah,
Below your shirt, man,
yeah.
and is that the real tie, born again, right? So, that's a whole relative piece that we have to have conversation about the reality of who we are and what we are beneath this presentation, which is a standard. And have we adhered to a standard? As we get to Screwed, and as we get to sold out dates and you drop the tie, right? And we begin to look at your reality and your world. And I'll tell viewers now, man, it's so great to hear this young man talk about the fortitude, persistence, and necessity to give it back. But we're going to transition into some things that he's done as an entrepreneur that, hey, you know, I was just disappointed that his ability to just speak freely, it was unbelievable. So I want to go to a couple things, man, and I want to talk about the business first. The one that you have first is I want to talk about is Skrewhed. How do you come up with that name, man? And what is Skrewhed as a business? And how did you decide to get into a business such as Skrewhed? Explain to us what it is.
Okay, so I started Skrewed my junior year of college. I'm just going through a really rough time, and I just kind of decided to embrace the word Screwed, Screwed, and I replaced it with my initials, KWH. And initially, it was just more of an outlet. I was able to like do photography, graphic design, videography work. And I was just always designing different things. Like it was just truly an outlet for me. I was learning a lot in the process with just like creating, meeting a lot of new people and stuff like that. Then it just kind of expanded. Like my friends encouraged me to just take it seriously, just like push it a little bit more. And I lost my job right after I graduated. Like a few months after I got my job, I lost it. And I didn't have any income, so I had to push Screwed and turn it into my income. So it kind of helped me survive throughout the summer before I started at AIG. And at that point, things were just like going a little bit further than my expectations. So I was just putting out a lot of stuff. I was getting better material for the clothing. I was just getting more in tune with like designing things, and it was just a really good thing for me, especially going into the pandemic, being formally online and just being able to keep my stuff coming in and out at a good time rate when shipping times were down due to a lot of delays and backups and the supply chain during the pandemic. I was able to ride through that wave and just keep things going. So this is like my first child.
Wow. And so you're making money off of that, right? Because you had, I think we showed a jacket, right? That said Screwed, right? If we can go back to that jacket that you had on, right? This jacket here says Screwed. And how did you come up with that name? Because that's pretty intriguing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like I was saying, I was just going through a really rough time my junior year of college.
Is that how you
Um,
felt? You felt screwed, and so this was more of an
yeah,
inward or
I feel
perspective of how you felt about what was happening with you.
Yeah, I was just at a breaking point kind of. I think our grandfather passed a year before. I was just going through a lot of things personally. I was trying to figure stuff out, and I was just like reflecting a lot about life. And then I realized that I really embrace these things, and they made me who I am. So I kind of just put my initials in there and just lived it, and just made the best out of it.
Well, you did make the best out of it because you turned it into a moneymaker. So you turned the
Mhm.
negative, just as we said, the persistence, the humility, and the ability to have a perception and look at the glass half full, right? You turned this into a moneymaker, right? Because people are wearing this product.
Yeah, it was unwilling at first. It was definitely an unwilling business. I didn't want to sell anything. I didn't want to sell it. I was just like so just happy to see the designs come out. Like I'll just give it to my friends. I'll be like, here, just like wear it. And they're like, nah, you gotta take this further. So it
And
kind
so
of
you've
went.
taken it, so you've taken it further, huh?
Yeah, I took it further. So far I've shipped out to 4 different countries in about 39 of the 50 states.
So,
We've had,
so, so talk about how your MBA, right? So you got KWH, right? Screwed, SKREWH, middle name, and then H for your last name, right?
mhm.
I mean, you're making money, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
How does your advanced degree, help you in terms of the marketing aspect of a business like this? You went to South Africa and you helped a solar energy business take a look at their business, right?
Yeah.
How does this help you with your own business? Is that how you're going to get to that 2 million? A consortium
I
of businesses like this?
I've always been a pretty good understander of people. And I think that's the
Oh,
first
you don't
thing.
have to be humble, man. You've always been a good understander, a great understander, because there's nothing pretty good about anything that you're doing, right? So you've been a great, right?
Yeah,
Understander of people.
I know people. I've been around a lot of people. I've been exposed to a lot of different things. And to me, marketing is kind of like a social science, more so than thinking about like the dollar line. You have to know your audience. You have to know what they want. You have to know how they think, and you have to know how they buy. So I feel like that's one thing that I'm really good at is marketing, getting in front of people, understanding how they work, what their thought process is, what attracts them, and how to lure them in eventually to become a customer. So I think that's one of my strengths. Having my MBA put me in the environment with people that could potentially be customers for not my companies or maybe my companies or maybe someone else. Like some of my classmates now are my customers as well. So
Unbelievable.
yeah,
I can
so it's
see that.
Yep. So it's just learning how to connect with people, just having these experiences with a lot of different people, being around a lot of people growing up in Kinston, Baltimore, Charlotte, Durham, sometimes DC, just knowing people, watching, not always being the loudest person, but just taking everything in all the time. So I understand that much. So it helps.
Hey, well, I want to go to sold out dates, which seems as though it's off the hook. I mentioned that you did some little TikTok and we don't understand it. And so hopefully before you go, because I know we only got a few more minutes left with you, and I want to spend a bit of time with sold out dates, which is a business you all out there, sold out dates. What's the concept behind sold out dates before we play a couple of things on TikTok from a marketing aspect? Because I think you got like over almost 10,000 followers.
Yeah, my following kind of grew on TikTok in the past year or so. It's so easy. I feel like TikTok is like the new Google. It's able people whatever they want to find, whatever they want to see, as far as like recommendations or things of that nature. You can look it up on TikTok. Anything really. And one of my friends is some my business partner. He's pretty big on TikTok. He has about 40,000 followers, and we kind of just use it to help us market, to help us get like deals, to help us influence people to an extent. So yeah, it's sold out dates is our event marketing, our design, our travel company. content creation company that we started. This is actually our 1 year anniversary. So our 1 year anniversary was yesterday. So in the past year, we've done really well. We've been
Yeah, I
all
can
over.
tell you've done really well. Now, let me ask you something. It looks as though TikTok and social media platforms has been helpful, particularly TikTok. But let me ask you, what happens if the federal government regulates TikTok to the degree that they're looking at? And I believe there's one state already that has banned TikTok
Montana.
use, Montana. So how would this affect your business dramatically if the federal government got involved?
So I see it like this is that people are always on their phones. Before TikTok, they were on Instagram, and if they took away TikTok, they would still be on Instagram. And I feel like that's our primary selling point. If TikTok was shut down, like we've discussed this, like we'll be fine. At this point now, we have about 12,000 emails, almost 10,000 followers on Instagram, and we know a lot of people, even without it. So I feel like now we're at the point where it's established. Early on, it might have killed us, but now we were able to do things. Word of mouth is really huge. Um, our designs are they stand out pretty well. So when you see it as eye catching and you're kind of intrigued by like the mystery of sold out dates or just like being able to attend and say that you were there, which is one thing that I've noticed that people like to do.
Hey, I want to play this quickly. I hope the viewers can see it.
Hey, y'all, I've been on a trip. One, there are no liquor stores in the UAE. The only place that you can buy alcohol is in the hotel lobbies, the bar, or two. Dubai is its own country. It's an emirate as a part of the United Arab Emirates. There's 7 emirates, and they're kind of like in the United States. Three, the UAE is a Muslim country, so they pray every morning at 5 a.m. on these super loud speakers that you can hear throughout the city. Heard this in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi. Four, they do not care about your US dollars over there. They use AEDs or dirhams. Get your money converted at the airport if you're flying out. You get the best rate before you get over to Dubai. Tip number 5, do not visit Dubai during the summer. And these are the months from May until September. It gets to be about 135 degrees and it's absolutely way too hot to go outside. The residents told us this as soon as we landed. The best time to visit is from October until April. Hey, y'all, I visited Dubai.
Wow, that is absolutely interesting, man, right? So I could show them much more. Give them your handle on TikTok so people can go, hey, this guy has a bunch of TikTok videos posted up there, very informative to what it is that he's traveled, where he's traveled. In addition, explains very well what sold out dates is. So Keith, you're in New York, you're in Atlanta, you're in New Orleans, you're in Houston, Texas, Las Vegas, throwing parties.
Yeah, man, we go all over the place. We're going to Chicago and Brooklyn on the same day next
So
week.
what's the business model? What's the business model, man, that you get people and well, listen, you're smart like you don't want to give it to me. Is that what it is? What's
Nah,
the
nah,
business model, man? How do you make money that way? Are you using up clubs or locations, empty
so
space or empty store and bringing people into it? How you doing it?
yeah, so our main thing was after the pandemic when everything was shut down for a year, people were just bored. There wasn't really much to do. And then when we were in our I turned 25 in the pandemic, and we just had a lot more like life to live. Just tired of being in the house, and when we did get to go back out, we were just bored. We were just tired of the same experience, the same clubs, just standing around and stuff. So we wanted to create like a fun environment, somewhere where like people could just be themselves, embrace themselves, and just have a good time. So people like that. Like they clearly like it. It's been working. We've been to a lot of cities. We've been to this year Atlanta, Memphis, New Orleans, Durham, Charlotte, Chicago, Dallas, New York, um, Memphis, and somewhere else I'm forgetting
So
right
they got to
now.
be
Oh,
21 years old, right? They got to be 21 years old, right? They got to
yeah.
be at least 21 years old. Is
So
there
our
an age cap? Can like Uncle Mike? You laugh like there's an age cap. You don't want to
some
see Uncle Mike in the
somebody
place.
somebody brought their mama last yesterday. somebody brought their mom into the sold out dates party. So it was there's no age cap. I've seen people in there in their 50s, just having a good time. 50s, 60s, somebody's grandma was in New Orleans. This is not the first time someone's mother has come with them. They just heard about it and it was like, I want to go. Like, it was so fun. And I was like, cool. I mean,
And it seems like you are getting paid.
yeah,
You had $1 million yet?
almost.
Yeah, so in a year you've been at so this is where your education is worked because it seems as though you figured out the social media marketing, the as you said, studying the habits of people. And as I said, we got to get you back on soon, man, because there's some serious implications here from a financial perspective that you figured out in terms of algorithms and
Yeah.
crowdsourcing, crowd marketing, working with venues to help them out and bringing people to there. So do the venues pay you in addition to people getting you the ticket money or access to entry by paying you directly, or do you pay the venue? How does that work, man?
So I'll give you like a simple breakdown. So, for instance, if there's a venue that we like, we'll reach out to them. I have my manager, I'm an assistant, reach out to them, contact them, get kind of like the contractual details. If there's like any like bar minimums, if there's like a bar split or whatever, we typically do like 20 to 25% of the bar. So if the bar does like in New Orleans, it did like $30,000, we get 25% of that. But then we charge the ticket fees, which we get 100% of. So we typically like to do mid-sized venues with like capacity between 600 to 1,200 people, depending on the market. So
Is
somewhere
this
like
how many people that you're drawing to someplace? 600 people? I mean, as I tell
yeah,
you, viewers, go to his TikTok page and see. Matter of fact, forget going. Let's just show a bit, man, because we got to get him out of here. We got to get him out of here soon. But let's go take a look at some of
yeah,
what's happening and with
we
these
do.
crowdsourcing stuff, man, because it is off the hook. And then he's got something called the Drake party. What the heck?
Yo, so one
Yes.
of my
So
favorite
we
things is just have fun with black people. When we started our dates, that was the goal. We wanted to have fun with black people all over the country, all over the world. This video is from our Drake night in Brooklyn. As you can see, it's a whole lot of black fun going on. We're running it back in DC at our event called 4 p.m. in DC, the Drake Day Party from 4 to 8 p.m. So hopefully we'll see y'all there. Ticket links in my bio.
Wow, this is powerful, Keith. Hey, listen, we can't keep you on. I know you got to do some packing, man, but we got to bring you back because what I really am intrigued about is the marketing aspect. When I looked up and said that 10,000 people know you and this business, right? And all of these different you've got a national business. Matter of fact, almost international, because I think you're taking people on a trip to Dubai. People through sold out dates can book a trip to Dubai in December of this year. Is that
yeah
correct?
yeah yeah we're going to Toronto, Dubai, South Africa, end of the year, and Costa Rica. Yep. So
And one of the things I liked about it is that your deposit was only $350. So you're not asking for people to pay half and all that sort of madness. Although I'm sure the trip isn't 350. And you mentioned three of the top good places in this country to party. You mentioned Houston, I think. You mentioned Toronto in North America. Let's call it North America. You mentioned Houston, Toronto, and you mentioned Washington, D.C. What's so good about Toronto, man? It's just across the border north.
I love Toronto. One, the weather is nice in the summer. It's a really nice laid back place to be. There's so many different people in Canada too. It's not just white or black or Hispanic. It's people from all over the world. It's a very diverse city. So the food is good. The DJs are really good, and people come there from all over. So I love it. It's one of my favorite places.
Hey, listen, you're on your way to that $2 million that you mentioned in that initial video, man. Hey, any words of wisdom before we let you go to businesses out there relative to internet marketing, or do they just need to give you a holler and just hire you for whatever? And you're a reasonable guy. I noticed that, man. Do they just need you as the business over in South Africa did to kind of guide them and understand people, algorithms, and the various platforms? Because I got to get you to show me, man, how TikTok can expose some of my business, or at least make me a partner. I could be security at the door if I can't get into one of these sold out date events, man. Any advice for us, man?
I would say pay attention to your data. It doesn't really lie. Even if you don't have any, that's telling. It means you're not doing something to get the results that you want. I was telling your son Aaron earlier that every piece of data is important. I collect everything, even down to a song choice or a city location or a phone number with area codes. I'm able to just build a story from that data. So I feel like the biggest piece, biggest advice that I know is let your data tell the story, and learn how to use Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. That's the biggest key right there. So
Wow, that can give you trends, show you things. Well, listen, Keith, we got to get you back on here in the fall, man, so you can talk to our small business people so that they can understand spreadsheets, data interpretation, where to get it, social media platforms, how to push marketing efforts, man. Hey, good luck on your trip to, you say you're going to first Greece?
Iceland, Iceland,
Iceland. You're going to Iceland. Do they
yep.
have any black people in Iceland?
Me. It'll be me. So, nah, I'm going to Iceland. Then we're going to London in the UK for the Beyonce concert. So,
Hey, well, listen, you have a great trip, man. Love you. Congratulations again on your graduation Wednesday. And we look forward to having you back on 60 Minutes in Black America, okay?
all right, love you too, Uncle Mike. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. As I said, you're watching 60 Minutes in Black America. My name is Mike Haynie. We just had Keith William Jr. Keith William Haynie Jr., just a recent graduate MBA program at Smith School of Business at the University of Maryland. But above that, he's an entrepreneur. You heard him casually say, I know he's making $1 million. I went up there. I don't need data to see how well someone's doing, and particularly our young people, the astuteness of our young people and the motivation of our young people to take what it is that they've learned and their own gut instinct and turn it into dollars. Go up, Google, Google sold out dates, Google Skrewhed, and just take a look at what it is that this young guy has done with this business of significance. He has traveled to more countries in a year than most of us get to do in a lifetime, and I know how he's funded it with his head on straight. Hey, we got a few other things that we need to get to today. Need to talk about this week. We had two candidates announced for the Republican Party presidency, which, hey, here we are again in 2024. We're going to be electing a president again. We know that 70% of the people do not want Joe Biden or a Donald Trump rematch, but it looks as though that's where we're heading to, we believe. But this week, Ron DeSantis on Wednesday, a disastrous announcement on Twitter with Elon Musk that he was a candidate for the presidency of the United States. As you know, Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida, and he raised a record $8.2 million in 24 hours after his announcement, and is well over $100 million. Recent polls that have come out have said that 60% of the Republican base says that Ron DeSantis is a viable candidate that they're looking to as an alternative, and particularly after you look at what Donald Trump has gone through with his multi-court cases. I believe he was in court this week, is that they're looking at options for presidency. Hey, Ron DeSantis is the guy that signed the Parental Rights and Education Bill, known by critics as the Don't Say Gay law, which bans instructions and classroom discussions on LGBTQ in this very conservative administration of him. Because I'm not going to say that Florida is a conservative state, because it has just a bunch of carpetbaggers and transients in it. But this guy, to me, is possibly more dangerous than a Donald Trump. So we have to be cognizant and aware as a people. We talked about communities across the country, ensuring that we participate in the political process. Beverly Cooper Wheely, our political activist and expert talks about force multiplier, which ensures that we participate in the process and we spread our dollar or two to candidates to ensure that other candidates don't win. Another candidate that declared recently was Tim Scott, a black man, the first black Republican elected senator since 1978, I believe. And I forget who that Republican, black Republican was. I want to say it was the senator out of New York State. But Tim Scott announced that he was also a candidate for the Republican nomination for presidency. And Tim Scott is someone that served at one time as the co-chair for Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond, for those of you that can go back and remember, was a avowed racist, and Tim Scott helped him garner like 30% of the black vote during the course of this. And hey, Tim Scott has a self-raised politician, went to school, came from a very impoverished family, had a father who couldn't read, who he pointed towards when his father was able to vote in the 2008 presidential election. You know, you got to take a look at it. Tim Scott pointed to Barack Obama's name as the one that he encouraged his dad to vote for. So you kind of wonder about Tim Scott in terms of being a Republican, but he says that he just believes in the Republican politics. He believes that people don't need a social platform that the Democrats give as a way to live. Now, Tim Scott is not married. He has no kids, has never been married. And he just believes that the Republican Party for blacks should be a viable alternative. So listen for Tim Scott. One of the things we said as a people that there are two parties essentially in this country. We're a two-party system. We've got Democrats and we have Republicans. Of course, we have Independents and Green Party, but these are the two primary party. And in order for us to get a perspective of what our own party, if we're a Democrat or if we're Republican, is to listen to others and what they have to say as a comparison to see if it makes sense or see if it's believable. So Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, three definitely declared candidates to Donald Trump, and we expect that Mike Pence will also come out as a candidate for the Republican Party. And it's important that we look at this. Regardless, if you're a Democrat, it's important that you understand who is running for the presidency of the opposing party. You understand their views and values because, 72 million people or better in this country believe in it. And it may mean that we have to take extraordinary measure and means to ensure that the candidate that is the best and most viable for us as a people is elected. Hey, so let's spin very quickly into the debt crisis. Yesterday, it appears as though Joe Biden and Speaker of the House McCarthy have reached a deal to curb the pending debt crisis. And by the way, Janet Yellen, who you saw up there initially, Janet Yellen, I believe, controls the Federal Reserve Board, said on Friday that the U.S. now has about $1.5 billion, enough to pay veterans benefits and Social Security payments that are due, that we could stretch it to June 5th, right? So initially it was a June 1st, hard June 1st date. On Friday, Janet Yellen said we do have about $1.5 billion that would, at least in those days, get paid some of the necessities with Veterans Affairs, Social Security, Medicare payments, because what this debt crisis does, and by the way, the United States is over $31 trillion in debt. And so what does this essentially means is that we're writing bad checks for benefits and money that we don't have. It's just like me writing a check for $31 trillion, except the Federal Reserve buys this bad debt, which is a quasi or government arm. They buy up all the bad debt. So we are $31 trillion in debt, or with money that we do not have. And so how do we cover it? We continue to lift the debt ceiling, which is what they're talking about. So they want to raise the debt ceiling in order to keep the government going and be able to pay the debt to countries and pay the programs that we have by continuing to lift this. And I see someone put in the chat, Kennedy Jr. is running, and he's running as a Democrat. He's the only one of significance that's opposing Joe Biden at this point. Robert Kennedy's son, I believe that is running out of New York, and he's looked at as a kind of closet conservative there. So the Senate, the House will vote first to raise the debt ceiling next week, and we'll get a chance to see if Congressman McCarthy or Speaker McCarthy can hold his caucus together, because some are very concerned. They wanted to slash Social Security. They wanted to slash a lot of the social programs. One of the deals I think that they cut yesterday was putting a work requirement on those that receive supplemental nutrition or food stamps, and some other social programs. They wanted to ensure that there were work related components to them. And I think the Biden administration worked with them, and that you'll see a different sense of how supplemental nutrition and some of the other social programs are delved out as part of the deal that they cut. You know, something to keep an eye on is BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa have created their own sort of economy because they don't want to be held to the US dollars. And so very recently, and this debt crisis has created quite a bit of stir around the world, because many countries know that the US, if the US crashes, so goes everyone else. Well, there are countries that are concerned and tired enough where they've begun to handle their own economy. And it's important for us as communities to be aware of this, to be very, very aware of this in terms of, from an economic viability, stability standpoint, exactly what's happening in the world. It is no longer acceptable for us not to know what's happening with BRICS, not to understand debt crisis and understand debt ceiling and Federal Reserve Bank and cyber currency. It is important that we get that education. And it isn't just a matter of 60 Minutes in Black America. It's a matter of your news outlets, that you look and peruse information that at the end of the day is very relative to you. So people are watching the fact that Afghanistan, Algeria, Argentina, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Belarus, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Turkey, Uruguay, and especially Zimbabwe, which loves the US dollar, are put application in to join BRIC. This is with the Russians and the Chinese. And so their gross GDP, or gross domestic product value of these countries, when you look at it, and it gets to a point that it's as significant or more than significant than the United States, causes a huge threat to the European nations that the United States is tied to. And so how does that work out globally in terms of help and world health and wars and things of that nature? It's important that we understand the US economy may not necessarily be the number one economy in the world when we put ourselves with France, Great Britain, and Germany, or the G7 and Japan, as it once was before, because we have a bunch of countries now that are looking to band together so that we can offset the US dollar. So please pay attention, look at it, see what's going on in our world. Tina Turner. Hey, let's play this short video of Tina Turner, who we know passed on Thursday at home at the age of 83. peace, Tina, dead at the age of 83. Tina not only survived intestinal cancer and high blood pressure and other illnesses throughout her just marvelous career, she also survived a abusive spouse. Rest in peace. Thank you for all the great moments, Tina, you gave us. We're proud of you. Hey, so today, or tomorrow marks the Memorial Day holiday. Memorial Day is a day that we celebrate the ones in our country that we lost due to war. And so there has been some issue as to whether Memorial Day was really the Declaration Day, which was celebrated on May 1st in this country in Charleston, South Carolina. Let me read something here. Memorial Day honors veterans of all wars, but its roots are in America's deadliest conflict, the Civil War, when approximately 620,000 soldiers died. 620,000 soldiers died during the Civil War of this country. Many of them died through disease. According to a Rights and Reunion, the Civil War in America memory, a commemoration organized by freed slaves and some white missionaries, took place on May 1st, 1965, in Charleston, South Carolina, at a former planters racetrack where Confederate soldiers helped captured Union soldiers during the last year of the war. At least 257 prisoners died, many of them diseased, and were buried in unmarked graves. So Black residents of Charleston decided to give them a proper burial. On May 1st, a parade of 10,000 people filled the racetrack, led by thousands of Black children carrying roses, followed by Black women, then by Black men, then by Union troops. So there always was an issue as to whether Memorial Day, celebrated on the 30th of May, was started in Charleston and really was the Declaration Day then. It has been a custom for centuries or for thousands of years for countries to celebrate its dead. In the United States, though, they say the official celebration of Memorial Day was in 1868, or approximately 3 years after Declaration Day. And it was said that the reason it was started, and I believe it was started by a General Long, because of they didn't want the Blackish implications of the Declaration Day. So they started on May 30th of 1868, Memorial Day, as it is celebrated today. And so I want to focus on two war veterans, friends of mine. Well, one is actually my dad and his service in Vietnam. Although he did not die in service over there, he is deceased. This is a gentleman named Lee Vaughn. Rest in peace, Lee. Lee died last Thursday of natural causes here in Baltimore. He was just a consummate human being, served his country faithfully, loved his country, lived in Augusta, Georgia, came up to Baltimore to attend the Preakness, and didn't make it back home to Augusta with his wife. So rest in peace, Lee. And the next one is my daddy. My daddy was a proud soldier, right? And he served in the military in excess of 25, I believe, close to 30 years. Did 2 tours of Vietnam, traveled the world greatly. We even traveled to Germany with him. He was a proud soldier. Died at the age of 79 or 80, I believe. He would have been 86 this past May 24th. And so Dad, continued rest in peace. And I think we've got some pictures up there of Dad in his younger days, getting a commission here. And this was back in the 60s when Blacks in the military, particularly coming back from Vietnam War, were not very popular. Actually, soldiers weren't very popular. And we can continue to scroll through those as we wind down in our program. So someone sent me a note, matter of fact, Beverly Cooper Wheely, and asked me to share with our viewers that maybe the appropriate greeting isn't always Happy Memorial Day, have a great weekend, when we're celebrating. And I believe this is the company that my daddy belonged to back in the early 60s, late 50s. But that finding an appropriate way to express ourselves to our fallen heroes is a something that we ought to focus on and not necessarily just say happy Memorial Day, have a great Memorial weekend when we're celebrating and dedicating a weekend and a day to our fallen heroes. And so, if you get an opportunity to go up and look up the Declaration Day, it isn't always incumbent on us to be able to give you information that may be of historical value to you. We see what we did versus July 4th and June 19th. June 19th, our celebration of our independence from the 4th of July country independence, looking at May 1st versus May 30th and Declaration Day. Maybe we begin to look at multiple days in terms of how we celebrate. Hey, it's been a great show. It was great from the moment that I had an opportunity. As I mentioned to you, nepotism is alive. It is absolutely fantastic. I encourage you to look for these wonderful stories in your own family because I'm sure they're out there. Find a way to share and spread the gospel of goodness that is happening in your own families, as I have had an opportunity to share the past 3 weeks with members of mine. Hey, I won't be back for, I believe, the month of June. I'm pretty much gone. We are heading into our third year of offering programming on 60 Minutes in Black America. So next week, Leon Thomas will lead the conversation on 60 Minutes and followed on the 11th by Jamie Miner as we talk about the financial markets, particularly cryptocurrency. Jamie will be having guests and updating you on what's happening in the financial world in this country. June 18th, we got Kathy Cat Evans coming back to host the show, and then June 25th, Jasmine Pollock and Jeremiah Nixon with Jasmine Sports Impressions. It has been absolutely awesome. As I mentioned before, if you are watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a great week. Look forward to seeing you on my return the first week of July. And thank you for watching another edition of 60 Minutes in Black America. Good night.